I'm going to talk about our EVOs. I work for EVO. I'm going to talk about the most difficult, longest, most expensive project that I ever worked on. That also was the most successful project that I ever worked on, changing our website to a responsive web design. So responsive has people who are detractors and people who are pro. I'm pro. So EVO started in 2001. I've been there the whole time, so I was there with the founder when we started, and over the last 15 years I've learned a lot, mostly by doing. So I run all of our digital and e-commerce at EVO, including the website. So this project was definitely a long one coming, but I really kind of ignored a lot of the vendors talking about mobile for quite a few years. There were a lot of M.dot sites that came out, a lot of different technologies that help with mobile that I really didn't believe in because I saw people checking out on our website. But this is really what compelled me to take a more serious look at it, and it's the percentage of mobile as a total went to 35%, and so I knew at that point, just the rapid progression, making a better experience, I believed would help, and the investment I thought would be worth it. There are four options that we saw. There's an app, M.dot, adaptive, and responsive. We ruled out the first two very quickly, just too much investment. M.dot's kind of a thing of the past. So we went with, we were sort of choosing between an adaptive website and a responsive website. And the criteria there are mostly, I think actually if I had unlimited resources I would do adaptive because it can load faster, but you're basically developing 6 or 8 different websites, one for each breakpoint. Whereas responsive, you're sort of, maybe 3 different breakpoints and it's one set of code. So we went with responsive. But it was difficult for us. We didn't have in-house expertise. It was something totally new to our development team. We're an in-house shop. We have all of our own tools and features. So that was a challenge. So we hired in an agency to help us. This is the first time we've ever invested in an agency to this degree, and it was expensive. It was not cheap, but we kept it on budget, and we did that basically by being really, really disciplined about this triangle right here, the quality, time, cost, scope triangle. We talked a lot about that. At every decision point, it was like, what's the minimum quality that we can get out and get live, and keeping the time, cost, and scope in check so that we didn't blow it out of proportion both in timeline and cost. And we did it in a way that maybe wasn't innovative, but it came as a result of meeting with a lot of people in rooms like this. I heard a lot of stories about people who had launched their responsive site and it just totally shit the bed. Like conversion tanked or their SEO traffic went way down. I didn't want to do that. So instead, we rolled out as a phased approach. We isolated certain areas of the code, like checkout. It's a walled garden. We did checkout first, and then we released it as an A/B test. And then actually it tanked at first, and we blew it. And so we did a bunch of iterations on that, and we got it to the point where the A/B test was actually showing a winner for the new one. And we did that with each template. So that process we kept doing for all of those different templates. We did checkout, we did the product detail page, we did the results page, and we did the home page, and then we just went responsive with everything. And that cycle helped us to iterate and to learn while we released and get stuff out into the public's hands, so that we kind of learned as we went, and we made sure we were guaranteeing success. As we went into the process, we did a lot of different exercises around data and analysis. We used things like Crazy Egg. We went deep into character counts to see what could show on a mobile device. We figured out what wasn't being used on pages, like our social actions, like Wanelo. Nobody uses Wanelo. I don't even know why we had it on our site. So we axed that thing. We got it out of there. We also took inspiration from some other great brands that are out there that are already doing this, right? It's like all this stuff's in the public domain. You guys, if you're going to change any feature on your website, go look around. I'm sure you do this already, but a lot of inspiration from great websites that are already out there doing a good job. And then also we did, this was probably the most valuable thing I think, is what I called anatomy documents. We went a deep dive on every template, every page, and we figured out what have we built over the last 10 years that's working really well. I think a lot of people do a web release and they orphan all of these really great features that they used to have and they kind of forgot about. And in fact, we've even found stuff in the last couple months that we forgot about. Like we have a Thule rack configurator that wasn't on the site for 8 months before we figured that out because we had missed it in our anatomy document. But those are super important. And we got some great wins. So this right here is one of my favorite things, our filtering. This live 63 items and shows up as items filter behind you. I haven't seen that in any of the websites until we released it, and now some other websites are doing it. I don't know if they're copying us or not, but it was a really neat feature. So we moved the postal code, like the zip code, up above city and state to make that faster. So when you punch that in, it automatically fills out the state and the city. So, just little innovations that, are stuff that we thought of. Maybe they're not innovative, but we thought of as the process kind of came through that we're proud of. So what did this result in? It resulted in a lot of money. So the conversion rate improvements were big. They were in 7 to 11% range. You forecast that forward, there were multiple millions of dollars, $2.4 million for the PDP, $4.6 for checkout. Checkout was the biggest win of all of them. And then we were under budget, mostly because we were really, really rigid about that triangle that I talked about. We tried to keep everything really tight. It also affected our ad spend. So that ad spend is a percentage of sales line. That's my favorite line of any slide. Some of it is tools that we've implemented, but also the responsive web design was a big part of that. Getting higher conversions on mobile helps us spend less on our advertising dollars. So what did we learn? We had a lot of learnings. I hope that you guys can take some of those learnings from us. One is mostly documentation. Document the things that you're doing really well, and make sure if you make any changes to your website, you're preserving the things that you're doing well. Document the ideas that you have along the way that you can implement. We actually didn't do this, and I wish we would have. But so many good ideas come out of that creative phase that you don't want to revisit later. So make sure you document those things. And then, yes, that's all I have, really. Wait, there's one more slide. There's one more slide, and this is my awkward 10 seconds of pain. Okay, so this is our brand wheel. We developed this about 5 or 6 years ago. It was all the competitors in our space. And a lot of people that scared us at the time, right, are no longer in business. And so if I had animations, they'd be like popping in right now, and it'd be way more dramatic. But it's really true. There's in our space, like, people are just going away. So keep innovating and keep learning from each other, and that will help us all succeed. All right. Thank you.